Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Today in the Bible Bistro and all this week, we're going to study Psalm 87. Psalm 87 is about the grand city of God. Now, last week we had the grand supplication. David gave us that. And now today we have the grand city of God, and who's writing this one? Well, this is none other than the sons of Korah. And also, here in our introduction, we don't have any mention of the choir master. It just says, of the sons of Korah, a psalm, a song. So, they must have been the ones to write it, produce it, manage it, the whole thing. They took care of this one as of the sons of Korah. This is about the city of God. It's about the Jerusalem that was and the Jerusalem that will be. So we have both past and future. It looks forward to a great future, and it explores the past and God's love for this place. Jerusalem will one day be the center of the whole earth. It will be the capital, and it will be where the Messiah reigns. And because the Messiah reigns there in that 1,000-year reign, what we call the millennial reign of Christ, all that the Bible tells us, and the prophets say this, that all the nations will flow unto it. So it's going to be a wonderful thing when that happens. And this psalm looks forward to that, and I think some other things, and we'll get into all of that this week. It is divided by 2 selahs, so we have 3 parts. We have the introduction and the verses 1 through 3. And then after the first selah, we have verses 4 through 6. We have the second selah, and then we have the conclusion in verse 7. And in the conclusion, the sons of Korah do not disappoint because they mention the instrument players there in verse 7. So we'll get to that here as we proceed through the psalm this week. It's only 7 verses long, so it's very short. It's even shorter than the tropes that we have in Psalm 119. Psalm 119, those sections are 8 verses. This is only 7. If you want to compare this to a passage in the New Testament, look to Revelation chapters 21 and 22, and you'll see some of the same themes there as well. So let me read for us today verses 1 and 2. His foundation is in the holy mountains. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Now you'll notice that we have his foundation. We don't have an antecedent for that pronoun, do we? No, it comes later in verse 2. His foundation, the Lord. So his foundation is in the holy mountains. That is, the foundation that the Lord has laid is in the holy mountains. He loves the gates of Zion. So what foundation did he lay? He laid the foundation for this city there in Jerusalem. He loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Another thing that you'll notice is that Jerusalem is never mentioned by name. It is just Zion that is used. So Zion is used here in verse 2. You'll notice that it is used again there in verse 5. And let's see, where else do we have it? No, just those 2 places. So we have Zion twice, and we have the city of God there in verse 3. So the city of God there in verse 3. And then we just have references to it. We have there in verse 6, and we have there in verse 7, although when we get to verse 7, I'll talk about that because the word there is not in the Hebrew text. So his foundation is in the holy mountains. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Why is that? Well, if you go back and you look at Deuteronomy chapter 12 and verse 5, he says there in verse 5 of Deuteronomy 12, "But unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come. And thither you shall bring your offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes and heave offerings of your hand and your vows and your freewill offerings and your firstlings of your herd and of your flocks, and there ye shall eat before the Lord your God, and ye shall rejoice in all that he has put in your hand unto, ye and your households wherein the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. Yeah, so this is, this passage here in Deuteronomy chapter 12 is looking forward to the establishment of Zion. They haven't gotten there yet in Deuteronomy, but he's telling them this is going to be the place that you're going to rejoice. And the Lord loves this place because it's the place of worship. This was the place where the temple was eventually built, and it's the place that the Lord loves. It's the place where he put his name. And so in David, that happened when David established the tent for the ark, and then later on Solomon built the temple there. So the Lord establishes his name there. The burnt offerings come there, the tithes, the heath offer, all of that. And the celebration there in verse 7 when he says, you shall eat before the Lord your God and shall rejoice. This is Deuteronomy 12 again. Yeah, so the Lord loves this place because of what takes place there. And what takes place there is this wonderful worship of God. So it's holy unto the Lord because of what the people are doing there. And it's holy unto the Lord because he's established it just for that purpose. All right, well, we'll look tomorrow at verse 3, so I hope you'll join me then here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.